of the problems of AI are not AI problems. They're democracy problems, they're capitalism problems. And all the things we need to do to make those systems better, we really need to do because AI exacerbates those problems.
Technology has always influenced democracy, sometimes strengthening it, sometimes destabilizing it. Today, AI is transforming how information spreads, how institutions operate, and how citizens engage with politics. As disinformation, automation, and algorithmic power reshape the public sphere, the big question is, should we see AI as a growing threat to democracy or as a tool that could renew it? To give us insights on this, Bruce Schneier, internationally renowned security technologist and lecturer in public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School, is going to join us for this episode. He has authored over 12 books, most recently, A Hacker's Mind, and hundreds of articles, essays, and academic papers. His influential newsletter, Cryptogram, and his blog, Schneier on Security, are read by over 250,000 people. My name is Emna Chauch, and this is Echoes of EuroPCom, the European podcast on public communication. Bruce, thank you so much for welcoming us for this EuroPCom podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Great. Yes, thanks for being here. So, Bruce, you're a public interest technologist working at the intersection of security, technology, and people. I have many questions for you today, and I'm very happy to deep dive into this conversation. And the first thing that I want to ask from you is, how do you see, or where do you see AI already measurably influencing democratic processes today? And also maybe what are the changes that we could expect in the coming years that are maybe not yet visible but will be decisive?
That question takes a book to answer. And luckily, actually, I just wrote that book. It was published last month on AI and democracy. There are many ways the technologies of artificial intelligence are affecting democracy today and will continue in the future. Just to break down the landscape, this book has 5 basic sections. We talk about AI in politics, the technology being used to help people run for office. And yes, there's a small chapter on deep fakes, but that is the least interesting thing that is happening. We talk about AI in legislating, AI helping write and amend and pass laws. The third part is AI in government administration, doing the things of government. And there are hundreds of AI pilots in the United States and Canada, where I am now, and countries around the world. The fourth, AI in the court system, how AI will affect justice and jurisprudence. And finally, AI in citizens, how the technologies will help people understand the issues and debate and discuss and collaborate and negotiate and pay attention to what's going on in politics. That's the landscape broadly. And AI is a very general technology. It increases human power in a cognitive sense. So it is being used everywhere. And there are going to be a lot more changes coming. The technology is changing. It's constantly improving. And also the effects of the changes, we're not really seeing much yet. And there are going to be second-order effects and effects that have to do with different changes affecting each other. It's going to be a very complicated bunch of years ahead.
Maybe can you give us one example of those things that are going to change in the coming years that are not yet visible but will be very decisive? Can you give us one example?
I'll give a few quick examples.
Yeah.
So Germany, a lot of political parties in Germany, and they have a nonpartisan voters guide the government publishes, so people can figure out what the parties stand for and who to vote for. Recently, they augmented that with a chatbot. So instead of reading static pages, you can engage in a conversation and get the same information. And it's quite successful. Young generations especially really like it, and they're going to expand that. Second example, I'll go to France. France has built a large language model especially designed for legislators to write French law. It is trained on French law. It is optimized for French law. 3, I'm going to go to Chile. In Chile, there's a requirement when you propose a bill to write a document that explains how the proposed law interacts with all the other Chilean law. Turns out it's really hard to do. No one does it well. They are using an AI to do that, and the results are really good. Okay, one more example. My state is Massachusetts. There's a website called Maple, the Massachusetts Platform of Legislative Engagement. And what this does, it allows citizens to query this database on literally the 4,000 bills introduced to the Massachusetts legislature every year, understand what they mean, how they work, what the details are, and then speak to their representative about what they feel about that bill, whether they like it, whether they don't, what changes they want. Right? So AI is now an assistive tool for helping citizens make their voices heard.
You mentioned deep fakes earlier, that it's not like the most important chapter of your book, but you mentioned it, and I just want to come back on this, and also AI applications. You've just mentioned a few examples. Which AI applications pose the most structural threats to democracy, according to you, versus technical threats that we could think of, like deepfakes and disinformation?
Yeah, I'm not sure what an application is. I mean, what do you mean by an application? So to me, the biggest threats to democracy are the AI companies, right? The massive tech monopolies that are trying to control this technology. That is the threat. It's not the technology. When you think about deepfakes, the problem with propaganda is not the production of new propaganda. The problem is the distribution of it. And the fact that Facebook and TikTok distribute it like naturally because it is profitable for them, that's the problem. This isn't an AI problem. This is a surveillance capitalism problem. And it's very important to separate the tech from the economic system in which it's being built. So right now, AIs are obsequious, right? You know, they reflect you back at yourself, and they will confirm whatever theories you have. They make mistakes. They are more likely to make mistakes and say, I don't know. So they are overconfident. That's not the technology. That's the companies. That is a choice in how this technology is being built and marketed. It doesn't have to be that way. And the fact that the AI says I all the time, like it's a person, that is a deliberate marketing choice. So you trust it more and you use it more. It doesn't have to be that way. Right? These are not tech decisions. These are marketing decisions.
Okay, very interesting. And still talking about those applications, however we want to define this, if those are governed well, which ones do you think would most strengthen democratic capacity?
You know, I mean, again, it's hard to separate applications, all of it. I mean, think of AI as a power-enhancing technology. In the hands of someone who wants more democracy, AI will help you get more democracy. In the hands of someone who wants less democracy, AI will help you get less democracy. Right? I mean, it enhances the power of the humans. So I'm more concerned about the humans. I mean, who are the people, and how do we hold them accountable for their actions, whether it's AI or not? You think about like fake AI videos. If a fake campaign video is bad, it's bad whether it's generated by AI or by actors on a soundstage. Right? It's not the AI, it's that the person is producing a fraudulent video. And depending on the country we're in, there'll be different laws about that. I mean, the EU is very much at the forefront of regulation here. Right? The EU AI Act is the only major comprehensive piece of legislation in the world regulating this technology. It was passed in 2024. It will go into effect in 2026 unless the United States strong arms the EU into not putting it into effect. And, you know, we could debate the law and the provisions, and there are things that are good and things that are not good, but at least they're freaking trying, which is better than you get in the United States. We have some really good state laws, and Trump is trying to preempt all those state laws to make them all go away. That's a freaking disaster.
Do you think that AI can help build citizens' trust into democratic institutions and government?
You know, I don't. I think trust and mistrust is sort of orthogonal to AI. It has to do with the fact that they're just not trustworthy. I mean, in the United States, the organizations are not trustworthy. So it's perfectly reasonable that citizens mistrust them. It's not the citizens' problem, right? It's the institution's problem. I think rebuilding trust is a huge problem for democracy right now, and something we need to do, assuming we want to do it. The United States, one party doesn't really care. And I don't think AI will either help or hinder with that.
Okay, so it's not necessarily going to make citizens more engaged in democracy or more passive?
No, I mean, if they choose to be engaged, it will help them be engaged. If
Yeah.
they choose not to be engaged, it won't help, right? The citizen has to make the choice, and then the tool makes it easier. So the citizen has to make the first step. But there's great AI tools for organizing, which you can imagine unions and political movements and various social change movements using. So there are things that will make that easier. We'll see. And in politics, in the United States, we have a thing called door knocking, which is basically on election day, you have a list of your supporters, you give it to all your people, and they go knock on doors. Did you vote? Now, there are now AI tools to make that more efficient. That's going to help everybody, but the people have to still want to vote.
And so, speaking of people power and citizens and lawmaking, how do you think will AI change the elections, for instance, or how could it reshape lawmaking from drafting to enforcement?
All right, so it's interesting. So there's a lot of startups. I know the United States ones for AI in politics. And usually they are partisan. So there'll be a Republican version and a Democrat version because it's very hard to sell to both sides. And there are AI applications that help people run for office. And here, don't think national office. Don't think president or senator. Think local office. Think city council. Right? No one has time or budget or staff. And these AI tools help people run for local office. I think that's fantastic. Right? There are AI tools augmenting polling right now, AI tools that help with the campaign messaging. There's a product called Donor Atlas that connects the United States politicians with potential donors, another AI tool. So there's a lot of stuff in politics. Moving to legislating, I talked about that French AI that's optimized for French law. I talked about Chilean AI that is optimized for figuring out interactions between Chilean law. There's a U.S. Company called Legislate that is, again, on the local level, helping people write legislation. In the United States, a lot of legislation is written by lobbyists because writing is hard and no one has enough staff. That's incredibly partisan. Replacing with an AI feels like something that's better for democracy. But they're also seeing AI tools that help with legislative strategies. How do I get this bill passed? How do I understand my fellow legislators, right? I don't know how well those work, but that's going to be an area of AI development. And think of it like a legislator will have human assistants, human advisors, and AI advisors. And they will together, work to figure out, what the human should do.
Yeah, just like we're all doing on a day-to-day basis also, we're using AI as our personal assistant on top of our humans.
And the question is whether you should trust it or not.
Indeed.
And a lot of applications, they're not trustworthy. They don't do a good job. Some they do. But that's going to change. That's going to change, every 6 months for the next 5 years. And just be aware that if you decide that it doesn't work, check again in a few months. Check again in a year.
Speaking of who is using AI, citizens are using it, corporations are using it, and governments are using it. Do you see any potential that there's going to be a power shift in those stakeholders, and who's most likely to reap the benefits of these shifts?
It's interesting. And the answer is we don't know because it's increasing everybody's power. And you're asking about the interaction. In our book, we talk about AI's ability to write more complex law than humans as a potential power shift between the legislator and the executive. I can speak for the United States. The more the legislator leaves unsaid, the more leeway the executive has in interpreting the law. If the legislator produces more details, then the executive has less power. So there's a potential shift. Also, if the legislator gives more details, that gives the courts less leeway to interpret the law. That's another potential power shift. We talk a lot about citizens using it to increase their power, using it to organize, using it to make their voices heard. Is that going to be a power shift? I don't know. I mean, I think we're already seeing power shifts in the media ecosystem, not really related to AI, but related to social media, and the rise of influencers, which, 20 years ago wasn't even a thing. And now it's a big deal, such that candidates for national office go on these random podcasts because they are much more influential than TV networks. I mean, AI is going to change that dynamic in ways I'm not sure how it's going to work. Interesting question I think we were asking here is whether it centralizes power or distributes power. And that's going to be very application specific. I can imagine, we write a lot about AIs and lawyers. There's a lot of tools being written for lawyers to use AI in all aspects of litigation. Because at least in the United States, it's incredibly expensive and profitable to sue somebody. So we see AIs that help with legal research, look for precedents, help writing briefs, help analyzing discovery documents. There's an AI tool that analyzes juror facial expressions in real time to see if they're paying attention. Now, how will that affect the legal system on the whole? Will it make the best attorneys even better, or will it make the average attorney better? If it does the former, the rich get richer. That's not great. If it does the latter, we've increased access to justice, and that's fantastic.
I have one last question for you, Bruce. Forward-looking, looking into the future right now, what needs to happen next, maybe on the side of the institutions, and also how do democratic governments currently have or not the technical capacity needed to regulate AI effectively to ensure transparency and fairness?
I think that technical argument is generally bullshit, right? I mean, legislators all the time regulate things they don't understand. Pharmaceutical, aircraft, I don't know, foreign policy, right? Unemployment. I mean, all these topics that they're not experts in, we expect them to legislate. And yes, tech is another one, right? Figure it out, get staff, do what you normally do. It is your literal job to legislate about all these topics, even though you're not experts in them. So step up is my answer to that. In our book, we give 4 basic precepts for trying to steer AI towards democracy rather than away from it. The first one is to reform the ecosystem. Right? I talked about the tech monopolies. We really need to regulate them. We really need to break them up if we can. That the AI ecosystem needs to be one that is fostering democracy. The second is to resist harmful uses of AI, because there are a lot of them right now. But the third is to responsibly use AI right now where it makes a difference. Right? Easy example is language translation. AI is great at language translation. And there is now no excuse for any country on the planet not offering all of its services in every language of its citizens. Right? And the fourth is to reform the ecosystem. I mean, as I keep saying, a lot of the problems of AI are not AI problems. They're democracy problems. They're capitalism problems. And all the things we need to do to make those systems better, we really need to do, because AI exacerbates those problems.
Got it. Okay, I think that's a pretty good conclusion. AI is just exacerbating whatever is already existing, good or bad. Bruce, thank you so much for offering us your perspective on this topic. And also, we surely will check your book, because there's definitely a lot in there to go deeper. Is there anything else maybe that you still want to share or leave us with? A word.
I thought the last question was a great ending. So Rewiring Democracy, any place fine books are sold. In English now, rumor has it translations are coming. We'll see.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bruce. It's been a really, really good start of the conversation. We'll definitely keep in touch, and thank you for joining the EuroPCom podcast. For our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Echoes of EuroPCom. If you like this episode, feel free to share it with your network. Thank you for joining in, and until next time. This is a podcast series of the European Committee of the Regions. For more information on EuroPCom, please visit the website cor.europa.eu.